Hey guys, it is David back again with episode 2 of Digital Marketing Done Neat. Had a lot of fun doing the first video, and based on the reception I got from it, I think you guys liked it too. So, as long as you'll have me, I think I'll keep this going. I had a lot of fun, and it is kind of a nice creative outlet to be able to talk about digital marketing, but whiskey as well too. So, what I want to highlight today for this episode is actually the role that brand marketing plays in relation to digital marketing. So, the bulk of my career actually, before getting full-time into digital marketing, was working in branding and brand marketing. And essentially what I classify or consider brand marketing to be, it's really, defining the look and feel, obviously, of your branding, but it's also finding your brand's voice, your value proposition, and essentially making sure that, all these things come together and it's consistent across all your touch points with your customers. So in my case, there's a lot of television, obviously, online, of course, but social media, PR, events, influencer marketing. The role of the brand marketer or brand marketing is ensuring that your message to the consumer remains consistent across all these channels. So what's actually interesting, and you may not know, is the role of branding has deep ties with whiskey. And believe it or not, if you go back to pre-prohibition times, whiskey at the time was not sold in bottles the way it was sold then. More times than not, you would actually have distillers delivering giant barrels of their whiskey to saloons where it would then be tapped and then served to patrons of the establishment. So, these distillers with these big barrels, they need, these bar owners to know what they're selling. So they would actually go sear their name into the barrels and brand their names on there. And that is actually the true story of where branding comes from. Pretty interesting. So, I'm not just BSing having a podcast mixing whiskey in marketing here. So I always thought that was a cool little fact. So, why do I mention branding and brand marketing as it relates to whiskey? So, you go to a store and you'll see all these beautiful, beautiful bottles on the shelves. And, a lot of them feel very old and feel like, they've been around for generations, and, they have the secret recipe passed down from family to family. And in some cases that's true, but actually, believe it or not, the bulk of the whiskey that we drink nowadays really comes from the past 20 years of the whiskey boom. We call the whiskey boom. Whiskey prior to 20 years ago was much less popular than it is now, at least for a period. So, when you go on the shelf and you'll see something that says, cowboy whiskey or prohibition style whiskey or cowboy whiskey or something like that, that's really a very creative exercise from some marketing manager at Buffalo Trace or Sazerac or Diageo or something like that. And as both as a whiskey consumer and as a brand marketing person, I have no problem with that. I think whiskey being an aged spirit, we want it to feel like it's something that is handcrafted. It's been around for a long time. So I only mention this because sometimes when it comes to branding, you really need to peel back the layers to really see what's there. So brand marketing as it relates to digital marketing, let's cover that now. So when we first get into digital marketing, we're all taught about the conversion funnel, right? And the steps you take from awareness all the way through to purchase. In my opinion, as more and more campaigns rely on digital, and in most cases, completely digital, I think that funnel that we've always defined is much more of a swirl almost. It's much more nebulous. So, someone's in the consideration phase. They may spend a few weeks following your social media feeds or, seeing some retargeting ads. It's maintaining the conversation with them. It's not just a one-stop thing. And even after purchase and they go through and buy something, you may remarket to them with emails of some other products you sell that they are not aware of that might be of interest to you. So from that point, again, they're starting all over again in the funnel. So, the great thing about digital marketing is it allows for much more retention of your customers than it ever did before. So I think, on that note, let's taste some whiskey. So, we'll get back into marketing in a second, but I think we're just with each episode, we're gonna get into a little whiskey tasting as sort of a palate cleanser, so to speak. So what we have here today is a nice bottle of Templeton Rye. So Templeton actually is a case of one of those whiskeys that has been around for over 100 years. They have a lot of heritage, actually. So Templeton, it's Templeton, Iowa, and it's a small town, and their whole shtick is that it's a homemade spirit from small town Iowa for generations and generations. Their previous bottle featured sort of an old timey bartender with some patrons on there. It feels very old and distinguished. So, when I was at the store and I saw they actually changed their label into this, I was a bit curious why they got away from that. And it's actually a pretty interesting story. And I did not have this planned at all going into this, but essentially what had happened is, so they say Templeton, Iowa, and all their whiskey is aged in barrel there. That's true, but actually, all of their products actually distilled in Indiana first. And according to ATF rules and all that, you need to disclose these things. And apparently, Templeton went through great lengths to not highlight any of the fact of their Indiana association, and actually got sued for it, and were forced to change some things. So I guess in the past couple of years, they moved some of their operations full-time into Iowa from Indiana, although I think they still distill in Indiana. But basically, as part of all this, they went through the branding. But actually, that aside, looking at this bottle, this still feels very, very, distinguished and aged. Here that they have a new tagline here, small town strong spirit. I mean, it's definitely delicious, but it is interesting here, sort of, how branding, it's sort of a double-edged sword. I mean, while you need to tell your story, at the same time, you can't you can't lie to your customers, I guess. So it sort of, I thought it sort of ties in nicely to our story here as the role of branding as it relates to how you talk to your customers. So with that said, we're going to have a sip. It's really good. So it's about 4 o'clock here, and it's much earlier than I would normally get into the whiskey, but all great artists need to suffer for the craft. So that's what I'm here for. And my workday ends a little early today, then so be it. So, with that said, okay, one more sip. All right, so back to brand marketing and digital marketing. So, we talked about these different consumer touch points. So, statistics show that, when anyone arrives on their website or a landing page, at best, you have 7 seconds of their attention before they leave. Now, if someone's clicking through from an email or a social ad or anything, and they arrive on your website and it's not the same story, if there's misalignment, that 7 seconds is gonna be even less. You're toast. So when you're dealing with so many different touch points around the web, the role of branding and brand marketing is extremely important, and it's not something you want to shortchange. Now, obviously, best practices such as offering up deals or incentives or anything on a landing page to enhance that conversion. That's obviously a critical part of digital marketing. That's nothing to. That's obviously just as important as anything. But again, when your role as a business or as a brand is to continually maintain the conversation with customers, brand marketing is an integral part of it. And so I challenge you to really think about, if you are the proprietor of a brand, what is your story? What is your value proposition for your brand and your customers? What's your story? How does that live beyond just the bottle? I think once you define that and once you really get to a place that it's consistent, you're going to see great results. So, I think that's it for today. I had a lot of fun doing this. Another little sip. And that is David from Digital Marketing Served Neat. That's it for today. And leave your comments below and reach out if you want to talk about it all. Anything you want reviewed or anything you want discussed, digital marketing otherwise, I'd be happy to do so. But take care for now, and I'll see you around. Thanks. Bye.